Welcome back to the House of Ravenbrook. I'm Eric Marquette, joined as always by Ruby Sturt. Today we're diving deep into a world that, honestly, feels closer the more you work with it, the sacred tools of the Ravenbrook tradition. Ruby, I have to say, I was looking forward to this topic all week.
Same, mate. I mean, it's one thing to read about magic, yeah? It's another to actually hold something, the Athame of night, or the bell of passing, and feel the energy. Sometimes I reckon the stories are half the magic.
Absolutely. And the origin stories, the way Richard Ravenbrook envisioned these tools, have such depth. I always find it striking that he deliberately drew on bits of Celtic practice, but also that whole Victorian revival flair. So, the Athame of night, for instance, wasn't just a random selection. It's modelled on old folk blades, but reinterpreted for boundary work, spiritual defence, all that good stuff.
There's this layered thing happening, right? A bit folk, a bit ceremonial, definitely a dash of drama. Richard was such a magpie, picking up symbols from everywhere. I love that the bell of passing, for example, has legends around it from the very first Coven house. Supposedly, some folks in the village still say you can hear it toll past midnight on certain nights. Spooky stuff.
Oh, the bell's midnight toll. That story, honestly, gave me goosebumps the first time I heard it at a gathering. Quick side story. First time I ever saw the legendary Athame, there was this hush across the circle. It was as if everyone, even the most sceptical, felt a shift. The artifact just had that much presence. And I remember standing there thinking, is it the object or the web of stories woven into it?
Bit of both, I reckon. Having something crafted with intention, a history and community behind it, really turns a tool into something alive, which honestly is at the heart of what makes Ravenbrook tools so compelling. The laws in every ritual, even if you only hear a snippet here or there. That's probably a good bridge to the actual ritual power these artifacts carry. Like everyone talks about the Athame, but the vessel of whispering? Now that, to me, is drama and subtlety in one jar. I always stuff up how it's supposed to work, though, pouring wishes in on a waxing moon or something.
Ha, you're spot on. The vessel's for containing spirit messages and private intentions. It gets used in ceremony when something needs to be held until the right time, literally and symbolically. The compass stones are another, placed to anchor the four directions, but also to focus energy, not just mark a spot. Sort of a spiritual Wi-Fi router, if we're reaching for terrible analogies.
Laughing. I love that. Magical Wi-Fi. I've got to share, though, my own initiation into compass stones was less mystical, more clumsy. I put south where east should have been, and, surprise, surprise, the whole sequence felt a bit off-kilter. The high priest just grinned and said, "See why we study the tool lore before playing with the toys? Lesson learned. Don't skip the ritual homework, folks."
But that's part of the learning curve, isn't it? Every tool does a particular job. The Athame sets the boundary, the bell clears the air, compass stones keep the intention grounded. If you fiddle with the order or the meaning, you risk getting noise rather than clarity, which ties in with what we talked about back in our Awakening the Witch Within episode, being intentional, respecting the energy you call in, and the tools you use to call it.
And never underestimate the local stories or little oops moments. They end up being just as important as the rituals themselves.
So let's get practical. We've got these storied tools, but how do you actually use them if you're, say, living in a flat in the city, or just dipping your toes into magic? It's not like everyone has a torchlit circle out back.
Yeah, look, you don't need a secret woodland glade or, an actual vessel of whispering, though that'd be nice. In the Ravenbrook circle here, people have adapted heaps of ancestral brooms, some as tiny hand brooms, some purely decorative, and talismans that fit in a pocket. I know someone who charges a keychain before big meetings. It's about real life, not museum pieces.
Exactly, and there's a kind of creativity in that modernization. As the tradition moves with us, what matters is the blessing ritual, the intention that empowers a new tool. Like if you forge your own artifact, whether it's a, phone case or a handmade wand, the core is that it's consciously imbued and ritually welcomed into your practice.
Totally. And there are whole communities now sharing their DIY tools online. Some follow Richard's original blessing rites, others remix it. Biggest thing I'd say is don't rush. Take time to bless, charge, and get acquainted with your tool. Let it have its own personality. The most magical artifacts, in my experience, are the ones you grow into.
Well put. And that's the living spirit of Ravenbrook. Tools, practices, and people growing and adapting together. If you're listening and considering crafting something for yourself, start with what feels meaningful. The ritual isn't about perfection, it's about connection.
And if your compass stones end up all out of order, hey, you've got a story for the next gathering. That's half the magic. Thanks for joining us inside the house, friends. Eric, always a pleasure.
Always is, Ruby. We'll be back soon with more cryptic tales and practical wisdom from the path. Until then, keep your hearts open and your tools close. Bye for now.
Catch you next time, folks. Blessed be.